U.S. President Joe Biden is back out on the campaign trail amid increasing pressure for him to drop out of the presidential race.
You probably noticed there's a lot of speculation lately. What's Joe Biden going to do? Is he going to stay in the race? Is he going to drop out? Here's my answer. I am running, and we're going to win. I'm not going to change that.
Biden firing up the crowd at a rally in Detroit just a day after his highly watched news conference at the NATO summit. There were gaffes in that news conference, though. Biden attacking Trump at this rally as he tries to salvage support to save his candidacy, even as some voters in Michigan are expressing frustration over the mental acuity of both the candidates.
I will be voting for Joe Biden, not super enthusiastically, but because I do think that the alternative is much worse. But it's kind of more of I just wish I was excited about him in a way I am about other political people right now.
I know they would be more competitive with the public sentiment right now about Joe Biden. And, you know, even if he's not fully out of his mind, and I personally don't think he is, but I think he's too old and too out of it to serve as a useful president and leader of the most powerful nation in the world.
Support for Biden has been fading within his party. At least 19 Democratic lawmakers have called on Biden to end his re-election bid, and some of his biggest donors have reportedly withheld $90 million in campaign funds. Let's bring in Eric Ham, our CTV News political analyst. Eric, thanks as always for joining us.
You bet. It's good to be with you this morning.
President Biden was on fire on the warpath last night.
He most certainly was. And I think he had a lot of support and help from that audience that was chanting, "Don't you quit." And so we're seeing a bellicose Joe Biden. We're seeing a Joe Biden that is dug in. And I think not only are we seeing a Biden who is ready to go to battle against Donald Trump, but also ready to go to battle against many of those in his party who are calling for him to exit this race.
Now, we talk about we're hearing more from Democrats saying it's time for him to resign, but there are a lot. I saw a number, 80 Democrats, major Democrats have come out in support of him.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we're going to continue to see this push and pull within the Democratic Party. And quite frankly, I think we could see this all the way up until the convention. But what we do know is that right now there are those who are steadfastly saying that Biden needs to stay in this race. And I think what we're going to see is at some point this is going to get back to a race between Biden and Trump and their respective visions for America. Because right now, over the last few weeks, it's been about a battle focused solely on the Democratic Party and Joe Biden. And at some point that has to change, and the party needs to be looking to what they can do to actually win in November.
Is this infighting starting to show up at the polls now? Are we seeing any changes?
Actually, what we're seeing in the polls right now is that not only is this race beginning to tighten, but we're seeing polls that are now showing that Joe Biden has a small lead, albeit within the margin of error. But I think based on the crisis that has infected his campaign as of late, it certainly has made Joe Biden not only more spirited and engaged, but we see him out there more. He's engaging. He's doing these town halls. He's engaging with the press. Some of the things that we just have not seen from him, along with the questions of his acuity and cognition and health, which have only exacerbated his problems on the campaign trail. But now he seems to be dealing with those issues head on.
What are we not seeing? What's going on in the background right now?
I think in the background, what we're seeing is the president is continuing to try to assuage these Democratic elites and these congressional Democrats who continue to come out against him. We know just yesterday, actress Ashley Judd posted an op-ed in the USA Today saying that it's time for Joe Biden to exit this race. So the president wants to actually begin to tamp that down, and he's working behind the scenes to try to do so. We know yesterday on Air Force One, flying to Michigan, he was on the plane with a member, the president of one of these unions who have said they are standing with Joe Biden. And so they're trying to use all of this information to show that they are in command of this race. And race is very much winnable. But still, there are those who see presidential elections as races about the future. And they don't believe that Joe Biden actually not only is the future for the party, but also is the future for the country. And Joe Biden is trying to fight against that narrative.
And another big thing we saw a number there, $90 million party donations apparently being held back. That's a decent chunk of change. When does the money talk?
That's absolutely right. But I think also, while we know that $90 million is being held up, we also know that on Thursday during that presser, nearly 24 million people watched. So about half of those who watched the debate. And we're also told from the campaign, we learned this on Air Force One yesterday, over 40,000 people donated to the Biden campaign during that press conference. So it seems as though they're actually still able to raise enormous amounts of money, even though there's still large sums that are being withheld from Joe Biden. But I think he's going to have enough to at least get him to the convention. We'll see what happens after that.
All right, Eric, thank you as always, sir.
You bet. Thank you.
Eric Ham is our CTV News political analyst.